talking a lot about confidence when Lisa was playing your putting and wedge shots. And my question is, was there a defining moment, or was it your parents or a coach or a book or a mental coach or something? Obviously that playing well and great shots can build your confidence because everything's going really well. But is there any one moment in time that really taught you how to believe in yourself or how to build that confidence when you're not playing well?
Yeah, I've kind of always been more, kept to myself a little bit more, and just slowly learned. Just had sort of inner confidence more so. Never sort of outwardly shown too much of it. Up until that moment, won't lie. There's a lot of doubt in your mind. Like you don't know if you can get it done. Achieving something like that really builds that confidence to a point where I can really use it going forward. But all through my days at Kent State, Coach Page and Coach Derek Ingram from Canada that I worked with, they've always had a lot of belief in me, and that sort of transferred over into belief in myself. They just kept instilling in me that I'm good enough to make it at each level, whether it be be a successful college player, a successful pro.
I mean, to go along with that, like the importance of self-confidence on the golf course, even in your regular life, away from the golf course. How important is that at that level? Like,
yeah,
I rarely ever see someone who doesn't have that self-belief inside.
Yeah, it's really important. One of the most important things to be able to be successful. And another thing for me, I know that I've worked really hard. I know that I've done the right things. Put in the time, and each range session, each practice session, each extra session when you don't really want to practice, but you go out there, you don't want to get into the gym, but you do a workout. Those things add up. Just little increments, like things like that, and they add to your self-confidence. You feel good about yourself for doing those things. And that's really, really important. Doing all those things over the years, I think, has kind of helped me get to where I am.
Corey, can you talk a little bit about just your pre-tournament routines? Just kind of what you do leading into even a round. What warm-up look like?
It's kind of changed. Like John alluded to, I'm in all the pro-ams now, so I get to play on Wednesdays. So my sort of practice plan on Monday, Tuesday has changed a little bit. Used to not play in the pro-am, so I would be off on Wednesdays basically and just practice for a few hours. But it's pretty consistent. I try and play 9 holes on Monday and Tuesday each, usually Monday afternoon, and get in practice. If I'm unfamiliar with the course, spend a little bit of extra time there going to, chipping balls around the greens. Even just take my putter and wedge on Monday afternoon and go chip around if I think it's going to be sort of an important thing to learn about the green contours, depending on what the course is like. But after playing, kind of assess what shots are going to be needed. Fortunately, I've played the same courses now for the last few years. So going into each course, I know what's sort of required and what tests they pose, the different courses. Just having some experience, and I'm able to tailor my practice a little bit to that. I try not to wear myself out too much on the preparation days. Try and work smart as much as I put in a bunch of time. That's something that sort of changed my rookie year. I'd be out there from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m, Monday, Tuesday, and be like kind of tired when I teed it up. I think managing your energy when you get to that level, it's tough, traveling week to week, hopping on a plane, getting into new hotels. It's definitely challenging. So I've learned to sort of the importance of managing my energy, being smart about my body, and, knowing kind of what works for me. And that's taking it a little bit easier on the practice days. Still, working hard, spending a few hours.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah,
I have one more question about that with regards to you are always very easy to work with. You are always very self-motivated to do whatever we had you to do, whether you just enjoyed it, whether it was because your coaches, before you came to college just said, do what you're supposed to do. But my question is, what was there a moment either in college or, playing pro golf where you had an aha moment of, man, I got to take care of my body. This is really paying off for me, whether it could be strength, it could be power, it could be flexibility, it could be sleep, conditioning. Was there ever one moment in time where you were like, wow, this is a difference maker, a deal breaker for me?
Yeah, I think I learned that very quickly when I first started at Kent. That was sort of when I was introduced to more of a, structure, and we kind of have a plan. We're trying to learn about, making your body stronger. Longevity is important. Now fitness is so important to having a long career, being able to withstand, all the travel and all the golf, all the practice, getting in better shape. You can practice for longer, practice harder. It basically, as soon as I, started at Kent, was the aha moment, as you said, that I'm like, this is really important. I first realized it was something that was really going to help me. I wasn't a very long hitter. I knew it was going to help me develop power. It was, really challenging my body to get better. And I knew it was going to have a big impact on my game. After, picking up a lot of distance throughout my college career, you can see the benefits of it. And I've tried to, continue that as I've gotten into pro golf, and it's something that's definitely very important. And there's just a little side story, like watching Rory McIlroy. A lot of the time, I see him in the gym before rounds, and he's doing, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the workouts that you can't move after, you're like really sore the next day. He's doing that every single day before he plays golf. And it's just unbelievable, like throwing massive weights around every single day before he tees it up. And whether he's got a 12 o'clock tee time or a 8 o'clock tee time, guys in the gym doing, deadlifts and squats and grinding on the bike. And I'm like, man, you'd think,
yeah,
I'm not to that
What
level.
up a little bit, would you, Rory?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's not babying himself?
No, he certainly is not. And it's like, me seeing that motivates me as well. It's like, well, I want to be a top player in the world. I know I'm probably never going to be at that stage. I think, everybody's a little bit different, and you got to really work hard. He is working as hard as he can every single day to try and get better.
How much rest are you getting, Corey? Like when you're on the road and you've got an 8 o'clock tee time, what's kind of back us up 24 hours?
I'm really, really good sleeper. Fall asleep very easily. So 8 o'clock tee time, I'm up at 5, like 4:45, around 5 probably. Try and.
So if you get up that early in the morning, if you're up at 5:30 or 6 a.m., what time are you going to sleep at night?
I'm probably going to sleep at 7:45 or 8. I get a minimum of 9. Usually try and get more, 10 hours of sleep if I can. So I have no issue. No, I did not. But it wasn't bad. Waking up early every morning, I was always tired. Yeah. I always had to go to the study hall, at night. That was their only free time. And that was when I trying to sleep. But
right.
Now I have no issue falling asleep at 7:30 in the evening, 8 o'clock.
So you get up at 5, you're light breakfast, doing anything in the gym, or just kind of
I just stretch. Usually the morning one's not really, doing a workout, just, stretching, getting the body ready to go. I always basically eat. I would get to the course by 6 o'clock and eat, do some stretches and stuff there, get ready to go out on the range just before 7.
I think that's a big key too, is like your brain's got to wake up, right? And there's been studies.
For sure. I try and eat sort of bigger breakfast and when I have the early tea times, but I make sure that they're a little bit before, like 2 hours, at least 2 hours before I tee off. So, my body's able to settle down after eating a little bit.
Sending all your blood to your gut.
Yeah. So I found a routine that kind of works for me like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Julian wanted to know what type of workouts do you do when traveling, probably compared to when you're not traveling?
Yeah, when I'm at home, a lot more weight stuff. Still a lot of functional stuff, but traveling, it's a little bit tougher. I try and use my off weeks to sort of build, and then the tournament weeks to maintain. So just using some bands and whether it's the hotel gym or, gym at the golf course. Not doing anything crazy, trying to, get a bike ride and do some work with the band, some core stuff. And nothing too crazy. I've been kind of afraid to sort of, wear out my muscles during tournaments, trying to do some heavier lifts.
Yeah, but I think you make a good
not
point.
knowing how I react from that. Yeah, so
I mean,
I've
it is
kind of
different.
learned what sort of works for me, but definitely try and work a little bit harder on the off weeks when I'm at home in the gym with more weights and stuff.
During this time where we've had a shutdown, have you been in the gym more? Have you taken a bigger break?
Yeah, so I was hoping to kind of bring this up to everyone. I'm really trying to use this time as a positive. I did play a lot leading up to the break, but trying to get my body in better shape, my mind refreshed, and trying to, when this is over, hopefully sooner than later, I can look back and feel good about what I accomplished. I feel like I bettered myself mentally, physically, spend time. I'm able to practice, which is helpful, spend time improving areas of my golf game. My wife and I down here in Florida, we set up a home gym. Got a Peloton bike, been riding that around.
Challenging Rory.
Yeah, he's an absolute freak. So I did the one this morning that a bunch of the guys did, and I was pretty happy with myself. But we've been doing workouts at home. We have a bunch of dumbbells, some medicine balls, a Swiss ball, and use some bands and stuff, and able to try and do that every single day. Some days do double it up, but motivated to try and get better. I'm trying to use this time.
I love that. I love not looking at this as or an excuse not to get better. Like there's always things that you can do if you get creative, and you can walk away with it feeling you've accomplished something.
For sure. It's a really difficult time for everyone. I'm in a fortunate position where I'm able to still, go outside and practice a little bit, but I'm motivated during this time to get better. If I can become a little bit better, I think I'll have an edge over some of the competition when we do get started again. I've been committed to that, and my wife and I have both kind of been pushing each other to make sure that we stay on top of things and not cutting any corners with our workouts or with practice time. So
yeah, and on that same note, I think with the competitiveness, right, it's always in us. The coaching staff has played at a high level. These obviously our student athletes are at a high level in relative terms to other golfers in the world. They're a very high level elite group, and we can find ways to be competitive in other ways to keep that fire going and what fuels us. Doesn't always have to be golf related. Yeah,
for sure.
Can you talk about, I'm not even sure to what extent you do this, but goal setting and how important it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically the start of every year, for me, the start of the tour season in the beginning of the fall, I set some goals, and I really don't. So I set some outcome goals and some process goals. The outcome goals, I don't really reflect on those until the end of the season. And I can look back. They're all attainable, certain number of top 10s, certain percentage of cuts made, position on the FedEx Cup, world ranking position, sort of things that I would love to accomplish or feel like I had a very successful year if I accomplished them. The thing I like better is the process goals and really sticking to those on a weekly basis, monthly basis. Some of my process goals are doing a certain wedge drill 2 times a week at a tournament. Every week, I'm refreshing, looking at those process goals. They're things I know I've done in the past that have made me better, and they're things that I can control. I can make good decisions on the golf course. I can control what I do in my practice. And I think, committing to some process goals, and I work with my coach on that, and John, I'm sure Ryan or whatever, I'm sure you guys can help, have some communication with some players and set some of those process goals and talk about things that, are going to help you be more successful. It could be different for each person, but I think the process goals are really important. Those are some that I look at quite often, and I have certain putting drills that I want to do each week. Kind of have a rotation of putting drills that I switch back and forth each week, and then, like I said, the wedge wedge drills, just areas of my game where I want to improve and keep, keep the skills that I have. So I think something like that I can commit to is very, very important. You can get tied up in some outcome goals. So I would say, they're fine to write down, but I don't want to feel disappointed if, I miss a couple of cuts in a row and I'm like, oh geez, I'm not going to be able to make 80% of my cuts now. And the next event you're going just thinking about making the cut. You want to, stick to the process, and you want to have a good week. You can look at the outcome stuff at the end of the year. And
you guys have some questions while we have Corey still?
Yeah, if you guys just want to unmute or whatever, just feel free to ask something. I'm kind of interested to know how you value. So when you warm up pre-round, tournament round, and anytime you're on the range warming up, do you view that as a warm up and it really has no bearing on how you hit the ball based on going out on the golf course? Or do you, tell me about that, talk about that.
Yeah, for the most part, in the beginning, I'd say when I hit balls maybe for 25 minutes. The first 20 minutes, don't really care. It's really a warm up, trying to feel my body, trying to loosen up my body. I do some stretches and stuff before, but I just feeling that the last few minutes, last couple drivers I hit, going through my full routine, picking out a really good target, trying to make committed swings. In those last few shots, if I hit one that's really wild, that'll concern me a little bit, but usually I don't. I finish off at a few drivers, a couple mid irons and a couple wedge shots, really focusing on a target, and trying to hit the correct distance, get the correct feel, and sort of build the swing thought or swing feel that I'm going to commit to for the day.
Are you down to are you really specific down to the time of when you're going to go to warm up and when you leave the range, when you go to that,
Yeah, everything is very much the same, basically every round. If I tee off, we go back to 8 o'clock tee time, 6:55. I go to the putting green. I'm at the putting green until just before around 7:15, just before 7:15. Try and go hit a few pitches for 5 minutes. 25 minutes on the range till 7:45. Another about 8 minutes on the putting green. Going through my full routine on those last putts. I do a few sort of maintenance drills when I first get to the putting green range. Then back to the putting green, full routine. Lining up the ball, reading the putts, hitting some putts, and then always kind of knocking a few short putts and then go to the tee. But virtually the same timing for everything. I had the same amount of balls. I had 10 sand wedges. I start out.
That's awesome.
I start out with 2 just random warm up shots, and I hit 10. And I actually do try and hit each shot. Start at about 60 yards, and I try and hit each shot progressively further until I get to 110, which is a full sand wedge. With those, just something that I've always done, works on the wedge feel and also
those wedge games that you like to play weekly. Those 2, what can you give us maybe a little more insight on what they are?
Yeah. So I set up cones, basically. I get my caddy to set up cones. Sometimes there's some flags that are suitable. Usually they do a pretty good job on the ranges. Take basically 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. Try and hit 3 shots to each target. The first shot I try and hit 2 yards short of the target. Second shot I try and hit 2 yards long of the target. And the third one I try and hit on the target. So I go 68, 72, 70, 78, 82, 80, all the way up to 120. And I have created that game on my TrackMan, so I don't really need the cones. They're helpful to get a visual. I kind of like to see the target and just dial in. So I'm not hitting the same shot over and over, but I'm really getting a feel for each sort of section. I also have one that is 75, 85, 95, and then I try and hit it 73, 77, 75, just so I mix up the numbers. But basically,
Is there a end goal, you have to get of those shots, however many that is, you have to get a certain number within?
So basically I do 3 at each, and then I have 6 balls at the end, 1 for each target, and I try and get 5 out of the 6 within 2 yards. So within that, basically that's kind of the final test. And I try and randomize the last 3 shots, or last 6 shots. So something like that I felt helps with your feel, helps with your control, and builds confidence. You succeed in that and you say, hey, feeling pretty good about my wedge game. Anytime I have a 70 to 120 yard shot, there's a good chance I'm landing that within a yard or two of the hole, and I'm going to have a good birdie chance. So something that I've found that's helped me, and a good little drill. And it doesn't have to be that long or whatever. You can just hit a few shots. But I do like mixing up the distances.
And important to do on a windy day too.
Exactly.
It's a big key for being able to hit the shots you did coming down the stretch there, knowing how to flight them down. It's not like you just kind of lucked your way into it. You've had to put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what gets overshadowed. I mean, a winner on the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, week in and week out doesn't just luck their way into that. There's a lot of work that goes behind it.
What do you eat on the golf course? Do you eat the same stuff every day when you're out there playing? You know, how do you talk about that, nutrition and stuff?
Yeah, I pretty much eat the same. So we travel a lot, and off the course, sometimes it's tough. I try and make, really good choices for the situation I'm in. Sometimes we don't go to the healthiest restaurants, but try and, not get fried food or pizza. But on the golf course, I pretty much eat the same thing every time. It's usually, if I notice myself not eating, I'll write in my yardage book, make sure you eat. Every 4 or 5 holes, I usually, about the 5th hole, I have a snack, banana, protein bar, beef jerky, kind of mix those 3 around, some nuts. The tour is pretty good at getting, I guess a lot of the college events or amateur events now too are pretty good at giving you reasonable snacks. But I always bring my own protein bars, and they usually grab a banana on the first tee. So then I'll eat early on the back 9 and kind of later on the back 9. I don't know a whole lot about nutrition, but I know enough to make some good decisions, and definitely low sugar stuff out there.
We all know good choices from bad choices, right?
Yeah.
That's the discipline to make them. That's the big thing.
I usually have sort of an electrolyte drink too, like BioSteel or Amino Vital. I'm not sure how much that helps, but I found, I've played really well drinking, an electrolyte drink sort of rehydrates your body without giving you too big of a sugar high. And I found that it seems to keep my mind clear. I don't really know otherwise now. So try and make sure I do that every round as well, especially when it's hot. Sometimes do have one of those before the round as well, if it's pretty warm.
You seem to have a good recollection of shots throughout your career. Do you journal? Do you do any mental training?
Yeah, I write a lot of stuff down. I have a book, my journal's right here, actually.
Awesome.
So, write a lot of good feelings down. My Canadian coach, Derek Ingram, he's really good at kind of making sure he texts me after every round, write some stuff down about that one. It was a good day, or if it was a bad day. I've always had a good memory of good shots, I guess. And I kind of, think back to those when I get in certain situations, and I've been good at trying to recreate that shot or whatever that shot feels like.
Did you start that at a young age with him?
Yeah, pretty much since I was in school. I basically kind of became on the Canadian national team and started at Kent at a similar time, and started pretty early on there, and write down some keys that I figure out, or have a lesson, write down some stuff that feels good, or how I interpret something to feel good. I think that's really important. Those are things you can look back on. I often, if I'm out on the course or something, I'll just open up the notes app in my phone too. It's just littered with a lot of
golf stuff,
different things, different feelings that I have.
It's like a personal highlight reel, that you go back to.
Exactly,
and
for sure.
Remember all of it,
And you try and describe the shot really good in your notes, and then when you're reading about it, you remember it so well. You remember the feelings and whatever.
Nick's got a question. How often are you working on your swing with video and TrackMan?
I've never really done I don't know. My swing's not the most technically sound, you would say. It's pretty good. My tempo's good. I hit the ball solidly all the time. It's something that I've always kind of done. I don't really do a lot of video work at all. I do have a TrackMan, which I like to use. I mostly use it I check in on a few numbers with it. I don't really get too bent out of shape about all the numbers. I obviously like to know the carry distance. I like to look at my attack angle and club path. You know, I know kind of the sweet spot of when I hit the ball really good, where those numbers are with each club. And if something feels a little bit off, I can use that to check. But I use the TrackMan for distance. Not doing a whole lot of video work. A big key for me is my setup position. If I have a tendency to open up my shoulders a little bit, and that causes me to not sort of use my body at all when I go back. I just use my arms. So for me, if I can get my setup position in a good spot, that's something I've learned. My shoulders are a little bit closed to the target in an ideal situation, and that's when I can use my body a little bit better to start the swing. But basically, I'll get my caddy to take a picture of my setup once in a while, but I'm not really looking at videos. I'm not looking at certain positions in my swing too much. My coach doesn't really, he doesn't really refer to video when we're talking during a lesson kind of thing. You know, he'll refer to little setup things or just getting me to feel like the pressure is getting onto my right foot when I take the swing back is a common thing that I don't do. And but I'm not overly technical, never really been that way, and just always hit the ball pretty good. So I've never really been apt to get too technical or change too many things.
Mm-hmm. You guys have any other questions down?
Jared, when you're practicing, what percentages would you say is your mix between working on technique versus random practice?
Probably at least half the time I'm doing sort of the random practice or like testing myself. Maybe the first third of a practice session on the range would I be sort of trying to feel some technique stuff. I like to get right into like doing some tests or some challenges or challenge myself. Like you said, let's hit one right of the pin, hit one at the pin, hit one left of the pin, hit one short of the pin, hit one long of the pin, hit one at the pin, just adjusting, hitting random shots like that. I find, after a little bit of technical practice, it's great to test yourself. And, if things are a little bit off when you test yourself and you kind of go through your routine, you're trying to hit specific shots. If you're not executing those, you can kind of look back and say, okay, well, it was this technique feeling or swing thought, helping me in this situation, or why was I missing all the shots left, or why was I not hitting it solid? Maybe you can sort of do some analysis with that. But I'd say random practice, testing yourself is really important. Try and simulate tournament situations as much as possible. And I'm fortunate I create a whole bunch of games on my TrackMan, different distance control things, different iron tests. And
so you're always practicing with almost like a purpose, and you've got a goal.
For sure.
A competition, so you're trying to create that same feeling.
Yeah,
I have to get some of those from you.
Pretty much every time. It has been a little bit difficult, the last few weeks or the last month to sort of have a big purpose, but I've tried to, still challenge myself as much as possible in that. I do a lot of short game practice, try and practice around the greens as much as possible, and just doing little drills, take 5 balls and you hit 5 from the first spot. I'm trying to chip all 5 in basically. So if you chip one in, then you hit 4 to the next hole and you keep going. See how many holes it takes you to chip all 5 in.
Nice.
Going to kind of your tournament prep, you have a little bit of the luxury of setting a schedule and what golf courses you like. College golf doesn't always afford that for 5 players when you're traveling. Might set up well for someone's eye, and the other person is like, whoa, this is a ton of fades and I hit a hook, Just talk us through a little bit of maybe how you deal with a course that maybe doesn't set up well for you.
Yeah, I still try and build a plan that plays to my strengths. Fortunately, I'm a really good driver of the golf ball and really good iron player. So there's not a lot of courses where I don't love to hit fades off the tee. If I could hit a little draw every drive, that would make me happy. But I am able to do that. Maybe if I'm not comfortable kind of hitting a fade with the driver, being able to hit a little draw with a 3-wood still leaves me in a fine position. There's usually not any holes where I'm handcuffed and sort of feel uncomfortable. I just try and build a plan that really feeds into my strengths. There's never too many holes where I'm standing there and can't sort of figure out something that I'm comfortable with, that I know I can get in play, and that's going to be in a pretty good spot. We do play some weird holes where you're forced to hit a shot that you're uncomfortable with, but really focus in on those shots during the practice rounds and just be committed to them. That's all you can do. Give it, we're all really talented golfers. We can all hit a little fade. We can all hit a little draw. I'm sure we can all hit it high and we can all hit it low, but just, trust yourself in those situations where you might be a little bit uncomfortable. And that's something that I've been good at, sort of embrace the challenge of the hole that you don't like and just try and make the most of it.
Yeah, and I think like as coaches, we kind of talk about it too. Like sometimes you just got to accept par is a great score sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I've learned that a little bit more so as a pro. There's a lot of holes where you take a par and figure out a way how you can make a par.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do anything crazy, but just be smart and
Yeah. Looking back on your time at Kent, what would you tell these young student athletes? Now you are where you are, but maybe
I miss it like crazy. So I mean, it's an awesome time. You guys are very lucky. It's an awesome setup. I can't speak highly enough of my time there. It was amazing, and almost daily I'm kind of thinking back to the college days, how much fun it was. At certain times it seems like this is hard. This sucked. You're really grinding, but it's so much fun. There's so many memories that you guys will make, and playing college team events, so much fun. Just being there for one another, cheering each other on. It's pretty awesome. You're on your own once you're out of there, for lack of a better term. And a lot
of that goes unnoticed. You have guys now that are just trying to beat you every time you tee it up, and when you're surrounded with people and the support you have in college, it's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Just try and make the most of the opportunity. I learned that when I first started, that I was given a really great opportunity to play and to be able to further my career, to better myself as a person and a golfer. And that's something that I really embraced, and I tried to come out of there as good as I could, and was able to do that pretty well.
I think it's
tell us what it was like at Innisbrook, which, if you're saying you don't like to cut the ball and you played amazing that week, I'm from that area, and that's a cutter's golf course off the tee. So you must have been striping it. But what was it like battling it out with Tiger, coming down the stretch? I mean, knowing that, it's his first chance to win in whatever it had been, 5 or 10 years.
Yeah. You can fit draws in there. Don't worry. I did have problems with a couple tee shots where I wasn't uncomfortable, but like I said, just really committed to them, and tried to hit them.
That commitment even means aiming it maybe even at the edge of water and drawing it back. That's confidence and self-belief that you just know you won't hit it there.
Yeah, exactly. You trust it for sure. But no, in that situation, it was pretty crazy. It was my first experience kind of in the mix, and having Tiger, one of his first events back and playing well. The crowds were crazy. Like, I've never seen so many, middle-aged men dressed up in a tiger costume with a tail flapping behind them and yelling at me like, "Hey, watch out, Connors, there's a tiger on the loose." Like, right on. So honestly, I wasn't really ready for that situation. I played poorly on Sunday. I wasn't really able to settle into the round. Just so many distractions around me that they really affected my performance. But I learned a lot from that experience. I knew, hey, Joel.
Hey, Joel.
I learned a ton from that experience, and sort of learned it's important to just be relaxed right from the get-go. Take things slow, be committed to each shot. The crowds were insane that week, and fortunately in Texas when I won, it wasn't as bad. So maybe that helped me, and it was a bit of a blessing that it wasn't as sort of obnoxious and crazy. But I definitely felt that situation in Innisbrook. I definitely felt like there was no one in the crowd cheering for me, which was kind of a crappy feeling, especially I didn't get off to a great start. I made a bogey on the first hole and was a couple over par early, and I was still hitting good shots and it wasn't converting birdie putts and just couldn't seem to get momentum going. It seemed like I couldn't do anything right. And I just knew in the back of my mind that no one was out there to watch me play well.
Right.
And
But you
that
learned
was a
from
tough
it. And that's the
thing to deal
huge
with.
thing, right?
Yeah.
You bounced back and got into a situation that maybe less hype around it, but having that in the
Big
back.
time.
back
There's
pocket.
so much I took from that experience. The first time I sort of referenced it was at in Mississippi the next fall. I finished second and I got off to an awesome start. Shot 4 under on the first 9. I was 4 back starting the day and was then tied for the lead. Kept the pedal down, played well in the back 9. Ultimately finished second. And wasn't good enough, but I really performed well. I was really relaxed, settled into my round, and it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last couple of minutes here, Corey, off the golf course, what are you watching on Netflix and video games, and what are you doing elsewhere?
So wife and I, we watched Tiger King, as everyone else did, I'm sure.
Oh, just talking about Tiger. The Tiger is loose.
Couple strange cats in there. The Ozarks, we watched that. Not on anything right now. I did get an Xbox at the start of this mess.
Headphones. I was wondering headphones.
Yeah, I've been playing some NHL and some racing games. I'm terrible though. It's like I tried to play a game online. I get outshot. The last game I played, I got outshot like 48-4. It was just 9-1, absolute mess. So not a boring gamer.
We appreciate though. Yeah, we appreciate your time and
thank you so much.
taking this out of your day and just helping us and be better.
Hey, all the best to everyone. Try and do what you can. Hopefully everyone's safe and we're not really sure what the future will hold, but wish everyone all the success and try and make the most of the downtime.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it. You stay healthy too, John.
All right. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. Be safe.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us too, you guys, and be safe at home. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
All right.
Thanks, Corey.
All right. Yeah. Take care.
Go Flashes.
Go Flashes.